The truth about why most people stay broke and how to escape it. Most people never understand why they stay broke. They believe it's because they don't earn enough. They believe it's because life is unfair, or opportunities are scarce, or luck has never been on their side. But the truth goes much deeper. The truth sits quietly beneath the surface of everyday decisions, invisible habits, repeated mistakes, and unspoken beliefs that shape a person's entire financial destiny. People don't stay broke because they're not capable. They stay broke because no one ever explained the forces that quietly drain their potential. Forces that live inside habits, inside assumptions, inside emotions, inside the way they think about money, work, success, and struggle. Most people stay broke because they react to money instead of controlling it. They don't track their spending, not because they don't care, but because they don't want to face the truth. They avoid the numbers. They avoid the mirror. They avoid the discomfort that comes with acknowledging mismanagement. The broke mindset believes that ignorance is protection, but in finance, ignorance is punishment. Money respects clarity. Money respects awareness. Money respects responsibility. Without those three things, money slips through your hands no matter how hard you work. Another truth is that most people stay broke because they live for now. Their decisions are shaped by impulses, emotions, cravings, and desires. They buy what makes them feel good immediately, instead of what will feel right eventually. They want comfort in the moment, even if it costs them freedom in the long run. They chase the illusion of lifestyle instead of building the foundation of wealth. And every time they upgrade to things they haven't earned yet, a bigger phone, nicer clothes, frequent dining, unnecessary subscriptions, they trade their future for their feelings. Most people stay broke because they don't understand the difference between income and wealth. They confuse a high salary with financial security. They believe that making more money will solve everything, yet their lifestyle rises at the same speed as their income. The moment they earn more, they spend more, and the cycle of struggle repeats itself at a higher level. This is why someone with a small income and strong discipline often ends up more stable than someone earning 5 times more with no control. Most people stay broke because they were never taught the true nature of debt. They were told debt is normal, expected, even necessary. They use debt to buy liabilities instead of assets. They don't understand interest, they don't understand repayment strategy, and they don't understand how debt silently restricts their choices, limits their opportunities, and traps their future earnings. The wealthy use debt to grow. The average person uses debt to survive. That is the difference. Most people stay broke because they don't understand the difference between income and wealth. They confuse a high salary with financial security. They believe that making more money will solve everything, yet their lifestyle rises at the same speed as their income. The moment they earn more, they spend more, and the cycle of struggle repeats itself at a higher level. This is why someone with a small income and strong discipline often ends up more stable than someone earning 5 times more with no control. Most people stay broke because they were never taught the true nature of debt. They were told debt is normal, expected, even necessary. They use debt to buy liabilities instead of assets. They don't understand interest, they don't understand repayment strategy, and they don't understand how debt silently restricts their choices, limits their opportunities, and traps their future earnings. The wealthy use debt to grow. The average person uses debt to survive. That is the difference. Most people stay broke because they spend their lives working for money instead of making money work for them. They trade time for money in a world where time is limited and money is infinite. They don't invest because they believe investing is risky, confusing, or reserved for the wealthy. They don't know that inflation quietly destroys their savings. They don't know that every year they delay investing, they lose years of potential growth. They don't know that even small, consistent investments can multiply into something powerful over time. Most people stay broke because they focus on problems instead of skills. Money flows to people who solve valuable problems. But school conditioned many to memorize instead of create, obey instead of innovate, compete instead of collaborate. They were never taught high-income skills. They were never taught how to think independently. They were never taught how to negotiate, market themselves, communicate value, build networks, or grow financially in a digital world. And so they remain stuck in jobs that drain their energy without expanding their value. Most people stay broke because they don't believe they deserve wealth. Their financial ceiling is shaped by childhood experiences, family beliefs, cultural narratives, and the environment they grew up in. A person who grew up hearing money is stressful, money is the root of evil, or people like us don't get rich carries invisible chains. They sabotage their progress unconsciously because their mind sees wealth as something foreign, unreachable, or unrealistic. The broke mindset doesn't understand that mindset itself creates limits more powerful than circumstances. Most people stay broke because they lack a plan. Not because they are irresponsible, but because no one taught them how to create one. They don't budget, they don't set goals, they don't build systems, and they don't track progress. They wake up each day hoping tomorrow will somehow be different, even though nothing in their habits has changed. A plan doesn't just guide your money, it gives your life direction. Without it, everything feels like survival. Most people stay broke because their circle normalizes broke behavior. Human beings copy what they see. If everyone around you spends recklessly, complains about money, avoids financial conversations, or judges people who try to improve, you will adopt the same patterns. Environments shape decisions more than desire does. You cannot grow in soil that starves growth. You cannot rise in a crowd that mocks ambition. You cannot build wealth in a culture built on instant gratification. Most people stay broke because they underestimate time. Wealth is slow. Discipline is slow. Compounding is slow. Skill building is slow. But broke behavior is fast. Fast spending. Fast decisions. Fast impulses. Fast comfort. They want results in weeks, but wealth works in years. They quit too soon, panic too early, celebrate too quickly, and never stay long enough to see the rewards of consistency. Wealthy people play the long game. Broke people chase the short high. Most people stay broke because they fear failure. They fear embarrassment. They fear judgment. They fear trying something new because they fear looking foolish. They choose safety over progress, and slowly, their fear shapes a smaller and smaller financial life. But every wealthy person you admire has failed more times than most people ever attempt. Failure is the tuition you pay for success. Avoiding failure is the price you pay for mediocrity. Most people stay broke because they never build multiple streams of income. They rely on one paycheck, one employer, one industry, one source, and that single point of failure controls their entire life. If it collapses, everything collapses. If it struggles, they struggle. But the moment you build a second income stream, even if it's small, your life begins to shift. A third stream multiplies stability. A fourth creates choice. Wealth is not built by accident. It is built by diversification. Most people stay broke because they protect comfort more than opportunity. They avoid leaving their comfort zone. They avoid learning new skills. They avoid starting something small because they want something perfect. They avoid risks that could elevate them because comfort feels familiar. But comfort is the enemy of growth. Every step toward financial freedom requires stepping into discomfort, learning, trying, experimenting, expanding. Most people stay broke because they never ask the right questions. They ask, how much does it cost? Instead of, how much will it return? They ask, can I afford this now? Instead of, will this matter later? They ask, what if it doesn't work? Instead of, what if it changes my life? The right questions lead to the right opportunities. The wrong questions keep you stuck in the wrong reality. Most people stay broke because they never reinvent themselves. They cling to old habits, old identities, old environments, old routines. They wait for life to change without changing themselves. But the truth is simple. You cannot create a new financial life with the same mindset that created the old one. Wealth begins the moment you decide that the way you've been living is no longer acceptable. The moment you get tired of repeating the same month for years. The moment you choose growth over repetition. But here is the part people miss. Staying broke is not a permanent condition. It's a pattern. And patterns can be erased. Habits can be replaced. Mindsets can be rebuilt. Skills can be acquired. Income can grow. Financial destiny can change. Escaping broke begins with awareness. Awareness becomes intention. Intention becomes action. Action becomes consistency. Consistency becomes growth. Growth becomes freedom. You escape the cycle when you decide that money will no longer control you, you will control it. When you decide that excuses are too expensive. When you decide that your future is bigger than your past. When you decide that your family deserves a new story. When you decide that you will learn what school did not teach, practice what others ignore, and become what others doubt. The truth is most people stay broke because no one ever told them the truth. But now you know. Now you see the patterns. Now you understand the forces at work. And now you have a choice, to continue living the old story, or to rewrite a new one. The path to wealth is not loud. It is quiet. It is slow. It is steady. It is intentional. And it begins the moment you commit to escape the cycle for good. Your financial transformation starts today.